Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to discuss how Omni feels in Void 3.0 and discuss how I think Renewal Grasps with the nerfs to Void's neutral game around Omni are a better overall pick inside of endgame content due to a multitude of reasons. So first I'm going to start with how I think Omni is in Void 3.0 and then I'm going to cover Renewal Grasps and a build with them, the new Stasis Hunter exotic. Let's head into this. First up, Omni Omni is a exotic hunter chest piece that gives you 2 smokes. The previous most common use case for this was the ability to run 2 invis smokes and chain invis. This is also probably the intended purpose of the exotic, seeing as the exotic states that when you make somebody invis, you are granted portion of your smoke energy back. To be exact, it is 25% per person invis. So if you invis 3 people, which includes yourself, you will get 75% of that smoke back. So if you run 2 melee kickstarts and Omni you will always have a smoke ready to go. With old bottom tree tether, this was incredibly strong because it used to be when you invised yourself and allies, you would get grenade energy. And this grenade energy could then be used to cycle yourself more smoke energy, and you could literally sit there and smoke your allies and chuck a grenade, smoke an ally and chuck a grenade, and never come out of invis and have very good DPS uptime with grenades because you could throw so many because vortexes used to stack, and they still do. However, in Void 3.0, they've basically removed the neutral game of bottom tree tether, except for the ability to have invis smoke with Trapper's Ambush. I originally complained about them removing this tree because I have felt for the longest this is the #1 tree that have kept hunters relevant inside of 3-man and 6-man activities. The reason that this made hunters relevant inside of 3-man activities is because invis is a huge ability to ignore entire areas of strikes that you just don't need to fight. For instance, Lake of Shadows, there's a champion in there, and when you're fighting up the bridges that you just don't have to fight, he just doesn't count. And you can completely just invis and smoke right past him, and you completely ignore the fact that he exists. With the nerf to bottom tree tether existing, right, basically removing it from the game with Void 3.0, this is really no longer an option, except for the fact that you'll get 75% of that smoke back, whereas before you would end up with 100% of that smoke back by simply just throwing a grenade. This, in my opinion, has severely hurt the uptime and the ability to run Omni in high-end PvE. I think Omni has become more of a niche exotic that provides invis to you and your teammates when you want to go fast or you want to skip certain areas. Omni is no longer a survival or support exotic in my eyes because you can no longer keep the smoke up as often as you originally wanted to. I think now with Omni if you're looking for true invis uptime as a support player, I think at this point Graviton Forfeit is probably a better overall pick because as long as you're invis, you will get that smoke back. However, there is a downside to Graviton as the invis duration increase is no longer really needed because of the Echo of Persistence on the Void class. The last downside to Omni right now is, as it always has been, once you shoot, your invis is gone, and you no longer have that damage resistance. I think the new Stasis Hunter gloves, Renewal Grasps, completely negate this and make for a better overall exotic, though it is a lower total damage resistance. Alright, on to Renewal Grasps. Renewal Grasps are a new exotic glove for the hunter that released with the Witch Queen. They have an exotic perk that increases the size of your Duskfield grenades, and while allies are inside of their Duskfield grenade, they take less damage, and any enemies inside of the Duskfield deal less damage towards any guardians. This is a 2 times damage resistance at base. The enemies in your Duskfields effectively are shooting out what would be 2 times damage resistance to you, and you effectively, if you're inside of the dust field, have a resist times 2. This is, from what I understand, a 25% damage resistance inside of PvE. An easy way to stack this, especially if you're the Stasis Hunter, is simply to run Whisper of Chains. The Stasis Crystal that's generated with the Renewal Grasps is a large Stasis Crystal, and this will give you a resist with Whisper of Chains. This resist stacks on top of your other 2 resists to give you resist times 3. This resist times 3 is a 50% damage reduction. This is a huge damage reduction and will definitely make you live through things that you're not supposed to. You'll even see in the gameplay I literally tank an Exploder Shank at Master Difficulty Nightfall with no problem. It does like a quarter of my health when it should kill me, which is crazy, especially since I'm sitting on 18 resilience in this gameplay. So where do Renewal Grasps comes into play? Renewal Grasps lets you use the field as a defensive tool or as an offensive tool. And because of the Stasis Crystal that's created with it and Touch of Winter, you can basically farm Dustfield Grenades. Dustfield Grenades are by far one of the strongest grenades inside of endgame PvE because they completely make everything inside of it stop moving. You can also stun lock, overload, and bury your champions because they just keep re-stunning, which is hilarious. And if you've ever frozen and kept frozen a overload champion and seen what it does to them, it's hilarious. Overall, Renewal Grasps are a top tier exotic, and I think they provide a better overall team synergy because of how strong Stasis is over the fact that Invis can do what it can do. I am not saying Void Hunter is bad, but what I am saying is Omnioculus is. Omnioculus is niche and no longer is the go-to Void Hunter exotic. I do believe that there is better ways to chain Invis for a solo player, and the true ability of a Void Hunter at this point is the fact that it can debuff, weaken, and control adds the way it can with the class. Whereas with Revenant, you can slow, freeze, and control adds that way. The same deal with Void. Alright, we're going to head into the build now. Okay, we're here on the build now. The build in all effectiveness is just Error's Renewal Grasp build from last week. When I saw his build, I wanted to take it and show it off in endgame content and edit it slightly so that way you could make it work in endgame content. But the effective idea of the build is still just Error's Renewal Grasp build. So if you've seen that, you know what this build basically is. First, we're going to cover the class. The class is Revenant. We are on Gambler's Dodge. We are on Dustfield Grenades. Those are 2 things that you should be on that change throughout. Touch of Winter and Grim Harvest are our 2 aspects. The 2 reasons we're running this aspect is Grim Harvest gives us 3 total and lets us generate Stasis Shards. Stasis Shards will give us melee energy, and one of the most underrated parts about Revenant is the Shuriken. The Shuriken is one of the best melee abilities in this game. It is up there with the Shield Throw. It is up there with Celestial Fire. It is an insane top 3 melee ability in this game, and I think it's the #1 part of the Stasis Hunter kit that people are ignoring. Running Touch of Winter to make our dust field even larger and increase the size of the Stasis Crystal created inside the dust field. Our fragments are Whisper of Chains. This is to give us 10 recovery and an extra stack of resistance while inside of our own dust field. We have Whisper of Durance to make our dust field last up to 17 seconds. This is an incredibly long dust field. We have Whisper of Fissures to increase the size of our Stasis Crystal burst. So if there's anything inside of our dust field, when we blow up the Stasis Crystal that's generated inside the dust field, it'll die more than likely. We have Whisper of Rending to make sure our kinetic weapon, which will be a Stasis primary, does more overall damage to that Stasis Crystal so we can blow it up quicker. And finally, we have Whisper of Shards. When we blow up that Stasis Crystal, whether it's on ourselves or it's on enemies for an offensive purpose, we have Whisper of Shards to grant us more grenade energy and a faster grenade recharge rate. Now, mind you, the stats you're seeing here are not perfect. I am aware of that. Your goal obviously would be to be as close as 100 mobility, 100 recover, and 100 discipline as possible. You'd want to prioritize recovering discipline first and mobility third for this build because your dodge is just simply giving your melee pack, which is your second way to slow things, and it's just an extra survivability tool instead of being looked at as a true way to abuse the dodge. If you want to do that, I will have a later build later in the season abusing slow dodge for the, in my opinion, best way to run Revenant. Our primary is a headstone primary. There are currently 4 in the game. There is the Crate 720 round per minute auto rifle, which will be overload this season. You have the IS Luna hand cannon, which can provide you with unstop, and we have the Sinocardin pulse rifle, the Suros pulse rifle, that will give you also headstone, and that is also unstop this season. And we also have the Peace Bond sidearm, which will also provide you with headstone. So there's a lot of good options for headstone primaries. On to our first piece. Our helmet here today is on solar. I'm running a Ashes to Assets to give us extra solar energy. And this grenade kills, if you're wondering how you're getting grenade kills, the stasis crystal that's created with the Dustfield grenade counts as a grenade kill, and so it gives you super energy when you do so. And then we're running Bountiful Wells to spawn lots of elemental wells. Our exotic and gloves is Renewal Grasps. These are the new exotic, as I have stated. We have elemental ordnance on here, a grenade kickstart to give us even more grenade energy, and then I have a champion mod on of the choice that is the primary stun in the strike. So for this week we are on Fallen Saber, and the primary champion in Fallen Saber is Overload, so I put on Overload for my primary stun. My secondary stun is Barrier through Ariana's Vow. I have my chest piece. My chest piece is still on Void, so I can take advantage of all resists. However, as you may see in the gameplay, I probably should have been on double thermoshock plating because there's so many arc stuff within the strike. Also, there is a Font of Might here on the chest piece, and with the current way this chest piece is set up, you do have enough space for, in the future, to run a full Font of Might, not just the one cost one. Second, we have a Elemental Ordnance. This is the second copy of Elemental Ordnance. There was a first copy here on the gloves. The second copy here is on the solar boots. The boots here are on solar, so that we can take advantage of recuperation. And this could have been a big recuff mod. Oh well. Next, we have our cloak, which again just has an elemental ordnance. If you have a solar cloak, I currently do not. I would put your cloak on solar so that way you can run a copy of bomber. If you truly have the space, I would run 2 bombers and put this on a non-recuff mod, because the 2 bombers would really help with getting your grenade back, because you could dodge inside of your own grenade and get that grenade energy. Overall, that is the build. Today's build is overall pretty simple. I just wanted to show off a basic build with the Renewal Grasps. I do think there is a deeper, more meaningful build you could create with these gloves, but I haven't really tested everything with them. I liked Error's build, and I wanted to share Error's build in a form in which you could see it in in-game gameplay and show it off and compare it to Omni Oculus, which I think is the direct comparison most people would give this exotic. I think this is a better exotic than Omni Oculus for a lot of reasons. But that is it for the build. Alright everyone, I hope everyone enjoyed this video and learned something about Renewal Grasp and Omni Oculus. I think if you're looking to play a more supportive role on Hunter, I think Renewal Grasps are the better play, and are a play that you can synergize well incredibly with in endgame GM and Master level Nightfall content, because more than likely at the GM level you're going to have another Stasis teammate, because Stasis is so strong as a class, right? And if that Stasis teammate simply just throws on Whisper of Chains, they're going to get 3 times damage resistance as well. And if you really wanted to build into it, you could have 3 Stasis team. You could have a 3-man team of just Stasis, and you could chain this really well and just run constant, like 3 times damage resistance, and just sit in Industrial Grenade, which is kind of funny because it's like sitting in wells, but it's not a well. is just a Dust Field Grenade, which is mildly entertaining. I do think at the GM level you'll probably die a lot more. I'm 13 under in the gameplay, and I die a couple times inside the Dust Field Grenade. I don't die a lot, but I even think at the GM level you'll probably still get one shot by certain things if your resilience isn't high enough. Which most hunters don't run high resilience because they're so focused on making sure their mobility and recovery is really high. But obviously Titans and Warlocks can kind of spec into some resilience, and probably should, because resilience is an important stat at the game level. But that's all for the video. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like on the channel or subscribing to the channel. And I will see everybody on Thursday for a brand new video. And goodbye.